Video games are great, right? They transport us to new and fantastic worlds and let us experience stories that no other medium would be able to portray. But sometimes a gaming session going bad can be much more than losing a few games and raging out. Sometimes a gaming session can become deadly. Hey guys, ArcadeCloud here, and today we're counting down our list of the top 10 real-life deaths caused by video games. If you're new to our channel, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with some friends. It's free. Number 10. Chris Stanek loved his Xbox. His favorite game was Halo, and sometimes he would play it for up to 12 hours. One day he had been out with his friends when he dropped a packet of chewing gum, and the simple act of bending over to pick it up sent him into a set of spasms, which then led to his death. While playing a game for 12 hours in a row might not be the worst thing, I mean, I'm sure we've all been there once or twice when an awesome new game comes out, it can be a big deal if you suffer from a condition called deep vein thrombosis. DVT is the name given to a condition when a blood clot forms in the deeper veins of your body, usually your legs. It tends to happen when someone is sat down or inactive for long periods of time, which allows the blood to build in your lower extremities. The clot can then detach from your leg and move around the body, eventually causing havoc in a major organ. This is exactly what had happened to Chris. The blood clot, which had formed during his gaming session, had made its way to his lungs. Even though Chris was with his friends when this happened, and even though they immediately called for an ambulance, the damage was done and his gaming marathon had claimed his life. Number 9. It seems strange to consider that water could be deadly. It seems like we are told to drink more water by almost everyone. It's supposed to be incredibly healthy. But human beings have a very delicate balance of substances within their body, and though it's difficult to reach the maximum threshold with water, when you drink enough of it, it can become deadly. Jennifer Strange was taking part in a contest held by the KDND radio station, Hold Your Wee for a Wee. The point of the contest was to drink as much water as possible without going to the toilet. The one who drinks the most received a Nintendo Wii. Sounds like a harmless contest, right? I mean, how bad could drinking water really be? Bad enough that it killed Jennifer Strange. It's unknown how much water Jennifer Strange actually drank on that day, but it was enough to induce a state known as water intoxication. This basically pushes the cells in the body to their max and then beyond, forcing them to expand. Eventually, the cells in the brain expand so much that brain damage, coma, or even death is inevitable. Number 8. Games don't only have negative effects on the player, they can have negative effects on people around the player too. In 2010, a couple from South Korea were arrested after they allowed their baby to starve to death. The two weren't being purposefully malicious or anything, but they had both become addicted to a video game. What is perhaps the worst thing about this story is that the game this couple had become addicted to revolved around raising a child online. Instead of looking after their baby, which had been born 3 months premature and needed as much support as possible, they were looking after a girl called Anima in Prius Online, which is a very popular RPG in South Korea. The two indulged themselves in their online world as an escape from reality, feeding the baby just once a day between 12-hour binging sessions at the nearby internet cafe. The couple had lost touch with reality, and their poor child paid the price with her life. Number 7. Babies are incredibly vulnerable. You have to be incredibly careful with how you handle them because almost anything could accidentally kill them. Alexandra Tobias shook her child to death. Dylan Lee Edmondson was 3 months old, and his 22-year-old mother was playing on the popular Facebook game Farmville. Alexandra had been going through a tough period in her life. She was arguing with her boyfriend constantly, her mother had recently died, and having her child had stopped her from being able to go to college. Farmville was an escape, a time to relax, and Dylan was an obstacle to that. While Alexandra was trying to chill out with her game, Dylan started to cry, and it brought all of her frustrations to the forefront. She shook the child to try to get him to be quiet so she could get back to her game, and she accidentally bumped his head on the computer monitor. This glancing blow combined with the shaking led to a slow death for the child, one that was supposedly painful according to the forensic testimony. All because the child cried at the wrong time and interrupted his mother's gaming session. Number 6. More and more often, video games have been allowing players to sell their in-game items for real-world money. Legends of Mir 3 didn't have one of those systems in place, but that didn't stop 2 Chinese men from being involved in a real knife fight over an item called the Dragon Saber, which had been sold on eBay. A player called Zhu Kaoyan traded the legendary sword with his friend Chu Chengwei for a short time. I probably butchered those names, but my apologies if I did, I tried my best. Clearly Zhu had other plans though, because he immediately sold the hard-to-acquire item on eBay for 7,200 yen, which is over $1,000. When Chi found out what Zhu had done with his item, he was understandably upset, but the way he took things into his own hands was probably more than a little extreme. Instead of waiting for Chi to send him the money like he promised he would, Chi confronted him in real life, a confrontation that ended in Zhu being brutally stabbed in the chest. The only reason this all happened was because China doesn't have any laws regarding the theft of of online items, so there was nothing that the law could do to help him. Chi eventually came forward and gave himself up to the police, but what he was actually charged with was never revealed. Number 5. Keeping guns in the house is illegal right in America, but owning a weapon like that comes with some pretty obvious risks if you have kids in the house. Daniel Petrick was 17 years old and he was going to kill his parents. The reason? They wouldn't let him play his favorite game, Halo 3. Daniel was obsessed with the game, and when his parents stopped him from playing it, he made a plan to end his parents' life as revenge. In the middle of the night, Daniel opened his father's gun locker with his father's key and removed the game which had been hidden in there. He could have left it there now that he had what he wanted, but the lure of the 9mm handgun was too much, and he took that too. Daniel went into a room with his parents and told them both to close their eyes for a surprise. His father was expecting a nice surprise from his son, but instead his head went numb from the bullet that had just passed straight through it. His father managed to survive the gunshot wound, but his mother died from her injuries. According to the judge in control of Daniel's eventual hearing, the game was the straw that broke the camel's back, but he had been planning this murder for weeks. Though we don't know what Daniel was eventually sentenced with, the maximum possible penalty was life in prison without parole. Number 4. Sometimes people can get way too into their video games, and Sean Woolley from Wisconsin was one of those people. His mother says that Sean was always a happy kid, and that even though he had learning disabilities and emotional problems, he always fought to achieve the best that he could, eventually even managing to get an apartment of his very own. But while he seemed happy on the outside, the truth was that Sean was addicted to the video game EverQuest, and his emotional state was tied directly to his performance in that game. Eventually, something happened in the game that tipped him over the edge. His mom said that it must have been a betrayal or a rejection, something that hurt him on an emotional level because he was incredibly upset afterwards. Eventually, Sean's mother found him dead at his computer, which only had EverQuest on the screen. Sean had shot himself. The CEO of EverQuest maintains that there was nothing regarding the tragedy that could be linked back to EverQuest. It was just a form of entertainment, not a dangerous suicide-inducing drug or anything like that. But his mom was adamant the game was addictive and dangerous, and it was what had caused her son's death. Number 3. I'm sure you've probably all heard of Slender Man by this point. Big, tall guy, no face, loads of slithery tentacles, slick suit. He was created on a creepypasta web forum, but quickly spiraled into having multiple spooky video games made about him. For children, it's sometimes difficult to make the distinction between fiction and real life, and that led to 2 girls attempting to kill their friend in the name of Slender Man. Morgan Geyser was allowed to have 2 friends over every year for her birthday. She and Anissa Weir had conspired together they would kill the 3rd person. On the day of the birthday, they took their victim out to the woods and stabbed her 19 times across the body. Later on, the girl was found by a cyclist lying on the sidewalk covered in blood with stab wounds to her arms, legs, and torso. In incredible pain, she had somehow managed to crawl from the woods to the side of the road. When asked, the 2 girls who committed the crime said that they were trying to become proxies of the nefarious demonic entity Slender Man, and that the only way they could do that was by killing their friend to prove themselves worthy of him. In an attempt to prove that a video game and creepypasta character was real, they attempted to murder one of their friends in the most brutal way possible. Number 2. It's not just kids that have trouble distinguishing between real life and fiction, teens and adults can find it difficult to do sometimes too. That's what led Darius Johnson to kill his girlfriend, Monica Gooden. According to Darius, he had fought with his girlfriend and that he thought he had killed her, but later on it was revealed that much darker things were at play. Officers went to check on Monica. They said that they found the home's front door open, and there was a bloody trail on the floor that led to a bedroom where her body was on the floor. Monica had been stabbed multiple times across her back, in her chin, her neck, and her stomach. An Xbox was beside her body, bloody and broken, alongside 3 different knives. Johnson then began to rant and rave about how his girlfriend supposedly had control over his spirit, and how she just would not die no matter how much he stabbed her. He said that the killing was a sacrifice, and that it was for the betterment of the both of them. Number 1. The year is 2005, the month is November, and Hu Bin of Lijiang County in Hui Province, China, was about to do the unthinkable. He was about to take his own life. After playing games at an internet bar for 11 days, he drank a powerful toxic pesticide to end it all. As he was about to die, his father claimed that the boy had said, "Dad, the pesticide that I drank was toxic." His father replied by asking, "Why did you drink it if it was toxic?" The child replies, "I drank it because I want to make sure that you can't save me. I have played enough." During the final days of his life, his mother watched over his bed. "There are demons coming, I have to kill them all," he said, while fading out of consciousness, all the while his hand was still moving, and it was the motion of moving a mouse as if he was still playing Warcraft 3, the game that had prompted him to end it all. And there you have it, our list of the top 10 real-life deaths caused by video games. It was a little bit darker than our normal content, but we figured that this was important to talk about. Did we miss something? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe for more great videos from ArcadeCloud on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Take care, and game on. But seriously, take care.